let's go to the Toms River Volkswagen Sports Hotline and welcome into the locker room a local guy from Ocean City, New Jersey. He's been in the NFL over 30 years. He now writes a blog for theringer.com. Let's welcome into the locker room Mike Lombardi. Mike, welcome into the locker room.
Thank you. Good to be here. Appreciate it.
All right, Mike, local guy, does great. Ocean City boy, coming from Ocean City. Did that prepare you for the NFL?
Well, I don't know about that. I mean, it's just
hanging out with Tony Galani.
Yeah, that was always a good thing. I don't know. It was a dream of mine to work in the NFL, and that's just something I chased. And I was fortunate enough to win 3 Super Bowls and have a long career. So I'm pretty happy. Yeah, it worked out really well for me.
Mike, you went to high school at the Valley Forge Military Academy. I'm sure that prepared you for the rigors of the NFL. Did I see you in Taps?
Actually, Tap got filmed the next year after I was there. That was the next year. That's how old I am, man. So it got filmed the next year. But
you and Tom Cruise.
Yeah, I ended up at Valley Forge because an old Ocean City high school coach, John Servino, was the head coach at Valley Forge, and that's how I ended up getting there. And it really helped me out and got me on my way to Hofstra and then on to UNLV, where I started my coaching career.
And you started with Bill Walsh.
Yeah, I did. It was fortunate. I started out in college at UNLV, and then I got a break. I was able to be Bill Walsh's gopher, and so I write about it in my book called Gridiron Genius. It was a little bit like carpool karaoke. I got to drive Bill around, and I asked him questions, and he answered them, and it was a great learning experience. I've really been really fortunate. I've worked for Bill Walsh. I've worked for Al Davis. I worked for Bill Belichick. So I've been able to be around some really incredibly talented people who are pillars of the industry.
Speaking of Al Davis, I just told a story. I had a situation. I ran into Al Davis sitting next to him in first class on a flight from Phoenix to L.A., and he didn't really particularly like me sitting next to him. He seemed like he would be an intimidating person to be around.
Yeah, well, you always had to have your A game. I'm shocked you're able to sit next to him. Usually he bought 2 seats so nobody could sit next to him. I was surprised at that. Look, Al was really, really smart. He understood it. You had to be prepared. You never were allowed to ask him a question. He always asked you questions, and you better have the answer. Oftentimes, if he would ask me the height and weight of a player, and if I didn't have it at the top of my head, he would say, I can go look it up, and so he was very, you had to be on your A game. It was not always an easy day working for him.
So, see, Grimesy, I don't feel so bad. Mike's telling me, because he got up out of we were sitting in first class, I was sitting right next to him, and he got up and asked the flight attendants to move me.
I'm shocked you got a seat. Usually he would always fly. He lived in Los Angeles when the Raiders moved back to Oakland, and he would fly up every Thursday to watch practice, and then he would fly up for the game, and he always would buy 3 seats so he'd have a whole row on that Southwest Airlines flight coming up so nobody could sit next to him. But you couldn't help. I mean, the smell of his cologne, alone would have just drawn you right into it.
Hey, Mike, this is Grimesy here. They sneak me on the show every once in a while, so I really appreciate you coming on today.
Mark.
Hey, buddy.
Oh, no worries. It's always good to hear from you.
Yeah. Hey, listen, how proud are you to have 2 sons following in your footsteps?
Yeah, how about that?
Matt and Mickey out there. And I know you said you're going to go visit your son at Baylor shortly, and then your other son's with the Jets. How proud are you as a father?
Oh, I'm so proud of them both. They both have kind of decided to get into coaching, which I'm really happy about, because I think the coaching angle is much more is a better way to go. I went the personnel angle and the GM, but I'm really proud of them. Mick's able to coach Sam Darnold up there at the New York Jets. He's close. He's in New Jersey, so that's great. And then Matthew's done a great job with the great Matt Rule, who was at Temple and down there at Baylor as they're trying to rebuild that program after all what's happened. And I'm really happy for them and their families. It's really exciting for me.
We're talking with Mike Lombardi from Ocean City. He's been in the NFL for over 30 years with his distinguished career. You've done it all, Mike. You're an analyst on the NFL Network. You've been an executive media analyst. Out of all you're a blogger now. You've written a book called Gridiron Genius. Out of all the positions, titles that you've had, which has been your most rewarding?
Well, when I worked with Belichick, whether it was in New England or whether it was in Cleveland, to me, the symmetry that we share, the ideology that we both want, and how we visualize the football team was always my best time in the NFL. I felt very comfortable with Bill because we shared a shared philosophy. We really believe culture's first. Building a football team is not a collection of talent, but a lot of players that you require. And so for me, that was always the best time. I really enjoy the writing. I write for The Athletic, which is an online website. It's a paid prescription. It's really worth it. It's $3 a month, and I write for that, and I got a chance to write, which I love to do. But in terms of football, I love the football with Bill, because when you work with somebody that shares the same vision and shares the same way to build a team, it becomes very fulfilling, and that was the case.
Mike, take us through what it's like to be with Bill Belichick. He takes a lot of criticism for his press conferences, and he's very stoic, and obviously that's by design, I would imagine, right?
Well, look, Bill's job's not to make the media happy. Bill's job's to build the best team, right? So that's what he works on, and his whole, he's all attention to detail. I think you'll really get a good glimpse of the Bill in my book. There's a whole chapter I devoted to the week we played Baltimore in the playoff game. It was the first playoff game in NFL history where a team came back from 2 14-point deficits to win the game. And I think you can really get a good glimpse of Belichick's preparation, his ability to understand the situation and move forward. I mean, just think about the Super Bowl that we won in 2015 and Super Bowl 49 when we beat the Seattle Seahawks. We have the ball. Seattle has the ball on the 1-yard line with 26 seconds left to go in the game. If they gain just one more yard, 36 inches, they win Super Bowl 49. And Belichick calls for a defense we've never run before the entire season, but we practiced it all spring, all summer, all fall. And that defense allowed Malcolm Butler to intercept the pass at the 1-yard line and allow us to win the game. That's his ability to be ahead of the game and ahead of the curve.
And it's funny because when he started out with the Cleveland Browns, he was he didn't look like he was going to make it in the NFL.
I think that's just people's perception. I mean, we're the last group that won a playoff game in Cleveland. We beat the New England Patriots in 1995. Wow. We had it going in Cleveland, really. We did. We were 11-5 one year. The next year, the owner moved the team to Baltimore, and it's very difficult to manage and run a team when the owner's already told the city that we're leaving. It was very similar to me. Being in Cleveland in 1995, we felt like we were in Bosnia. The only thing there was a bomb down, people were after you, and they were very upset about the team moving, and understandably so.
All right, now 1997, Eagles president Joe Banner hires you. You're a local guy from the area. I guess that had to be pretty cool, working for your hometown team.
Yeah, it was really good. It was fun. And I mean, the first year of the year they let me run the draft, we drafted Trey Thomas in the first round. We traded for Hugh Douglas. We picked Allen Rossum, Jeremiah Trotter, Ike Reese in the 5th round, and I got fired after that. So it was fun, but it wasn't fun.
We're talking with Mike Lombardi, and of course, Mike, there was a lot of controversy over the remarks about Doug Pederson, about how you took a lot of heat, I guess, from people in Philadelphia anyway, But if you go back in retrospect, I mean, Doug Pederson, all the coaches that were available, he was the last one that anybody thought would be hired.
Well, the Eagles wanted to hire Ben McAdoo, and he stayed up in New York, and the Giants gave him the head coaching job. So look, I wrote Doug a note. I told him I was wrong. I apologized. I thought his first year in Philly, there was a lot of similarities to the Kansas City offense. They were running pretty much Kansas City's offense and just doing it. And then the next year, he really changed. I think he became a better coach, and he's a much better coach today. And look, part of what we do in this industry is you have to admit mistakes. I mean, it's one of the key components, and that's the only way you can grow and have creativity within your own personality, and I admitted it, and he was better. I mean, look, that ability to what they done last year, they were one of the worst teams in the National Football League last year, the Eagles, and having more 3rd and 7s than any team in the league, yet they were able to convert it at a high rate, which is really astronomical. It really goes against every grain of thought, but they were able to do that, and a lot of that is him, and then what he was able to do with Doug Foles. I think the other night was another example. Look, they did not play very well. They were not the best team on the field that day. Jim Schwartz did a great job. He was with us in Cleveland back in the early 90s, did a great job calling the defense, shut down Atlanta's attack, and they were able to win the game because they ran the football and won.
Mike, what are some of the things that has made Doug a better coach? I mean, as far as like dealing with his players, being a player himself? Like, how does he? Well, go ahead.
I think what he's done a really good job of is look, Eagle fans don't want to hear this, but the plays that gave the Patriots the most trouble were all the Chip Kelly plays, and he wasn't so stubborn to not just go ahead and run Chip's offense, because that's what Nick Foles runs really well. you've got to run what the players do. And I think he's done a great job of putting the players in position to run. And his team was well coached last year. That offensive line was as good as, now they're not playing at the same level to last night or the other night as they did last year, but certainly the offensive line played well. And I think that's the key. He runs the offense in a way to where he gets the players, they can do the best things that they can do. And that really works out well for them.
I was going to say, Mike, you've been in the NFL for 30 years, and the collective bargaining agreement has – Grimes and I were talking about this before you came on. I mean, the preseason is non-existent anymore. The guys don't even play. I mean, it takes like 3 games to get their, legs.
No doubt, and I think that's really what we saw the other night. I mean, there was guys dropping left and right. The humidity, it always was a problem, and it became even more of a problem as the game went on because teams don't practice. Look, you don't start – boxers don't fight in a championship fight if they don't spar rounds before the fight. And that's what's happened in the NFL. Players are not practicing football in order to get ready for the game, and it's really been a problem. And part of it is because we haven't, the collective bargaining agreement took away some off-season activities, especially for offensive and defensive linemen, which really need it. And I think that's been a big issue. And the other factor is the coaches are so worried about injuries because they only dress 46 players, even though they carry 53. They're so worried. I think if they change the rule to where we could dress every player that's on the team like they do in college, it might help it. We got to practice more in the preseason. Look, Tom Brady threw over 40 passes this preseason. He's 41 years old. Jared Goff didn't throw any. Mitchell Trubisky threw 11. So, there's just a difference of philosophy. Mitchell Trubisky needs all the reps for the Bears that he can possibly get, and Brady got them.
And I heard reports that Tom Brady wanted to be out there in the preseason.
He does. I mean, Tom wants to practice. Tom knows,
and that's a difference
that
between
you've got to be good at you got to be good. You got to practice. I mean, here's one of Belichick's favorite lines: practice execution becomes game reality, and that's really what it's all about. Practice execution becomes game reality, and that's why Belichick's so good.
Mike Lombardi, thank you so much. You're writing a blog. You're writing for The Athletic. So people can get you, and you have your book out. How can we get your book?
Just go to any or online. It comes out September 11th on Tuesday. Any online, Amazon, Barnes & Noble. It'll be available online and available in bookstores on Tuesday. And then I do a podcast called GM Street on the Ringer Podcast Network that comes out Tuesday and Friday.
Mike Lombardi, man, I tell you what, be a local guy from Ocean City, man. You're really making us proud, man.
And Mike, congratulations!
I appreciate it.
I saw Calipari, another great coach, not football but basketball, gave you a shout out on your book. So that's good.
That was awesome. Yeah, that was tremendous by Coach Cal. Really appreciate that, and that was awesome. I'm glad that he read the book, and I'm glad that he enjoyed it. Thanks, guys. I enjoyed being here.
Hey, Mike, we really appreciate it. Thank you. Thanks a lot.
Thank you. Bye-bye.